Here's why Daemon betrayed his brother Viserys for power. Imagine having a brother who gives you everything except the one thing you actually want: respect. Now imagine that brother is the king, and you're the most dangerous man in the Seven Kingdoms with a Valyrian steel sword, a dragon, and absolutely zero patience for being second best. That's Daemon Targaryen in a nutshell. And his relationship with his brother Viserys wasn't just complicated, it was a masterclass in family dysfunction, political ambition, and the kind of betrayal that makes Thanksgiving dinner look like a war zone. Daemon didn't just want power. He wanted to prove he deserved it more than the brother who wore the crown. And honestly, he might have had a point. If you want to understand the most complex, chaotic, and captivating Targaryen to ever mount a dragon, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell, because we're about to unpack why Daemon Targaryen's betrayals weren't just about ambition. They were about identity, legacy, and a fundamental disagreement about what it means to be a king. Let's talk about the elephant in the room, or rather, the dragon in the throne room. Daemon Targaryen was everything his brother Viserys wasn't. Where Viserys was cautious, Daemon was reckless. Where Viserys sought peace, Daemon craved conflict. Where Viserys wanted to be loved, Daemon needed to be feared. They were opposite sides of the same Targaryen coin, and that coin was burning a hole in the realm's pocket. But here's the thing people miss when they analyze Daemon's so-called betrayals. From Daemon's perspective, he wasn't betraying his brother. He was saving him from his own weakness. And that distinction? That's where things get really interesting. The first major crack in their relationship came with the Gold Cloaks incident. Daemon was commander of the City Watch, and he turned a bunch of undisciplined thugs into the most feared police force in King's Landing history. But when Viserys' wife died in childbirth and the baby died shortly after, Daemon threw a party and allegedly called the dead child the heir for a day. Now, was this incredibly insensitive? Absolutely. Was it political suicide? Definitely. But was it also Daemon's twisted way of processing grief, while simultaneously making a point about succession? Probably. Daemon had a talent for saying the absolute worst thing at the worst possible time, and Viserys, grief-stricken and furious, exiled him. First betrayal logged. Except Daemon would argue he was just being honest in a court full of liars. But exile didn't humble Daemon. If anything, it supercharged his ambition. He went to the Stepstones and started his own war against the pirate kingdom there, turning himself into a military hero without Viserys' permission or support. Think about that for a second. Your brother exiles you, so you go start a war, win it, and crown yourself king of the Narrow Sea just to prove a point. That's not just petty, that's performance art. Daemon wasn't trying to overthrow Viserys at this point. He was trying to embarrass him, to show the realm that while Viserys sat on his throne playing peacemaker, Daemon was out there actually securing Targaryen power through blood and fire like their ancestors did. It was a power move disguised as military service, and Viserys knew it. Here's where the betrayal becomes less clear-cut and way more complicated. When Daemon returned to court, he didn't come back humbled or apologetic. He came back expecting recognition, expecting Viserys to acknowledge that maybe, just maybe, Daemon's approach to power had merit. Instead, Viserys married Alicent Hightower, started having legitimate male heirs, and kept Rhaenyra as his chosen successor, effectively sidelining Daemon from any path to the throne. From Daemon's perspective, this wasn't just political maneuvering. This was personal rejection. His brother was telling him, in the most public way possible, that Daemon would never be good enough to rule, that his military genius and Targaryen fire meant less than political stability and peaceful succession. So what did Daemon do? He seduced Rhaenyra. And before you write this off as just creepy uncle behavior, let's analyze the strategy here. By getting close to Rhaenyra, Daemon wasn't just satisfying his own desires. He was positioning himself as close to power as possible without actually having the crown. If he couldn't be king through Viserys, he'd be king through Rhaenyra. It was brilliant, twisted, and absolutely a betrayal of Viserys' trust. When Viserys found out about Daemon taking Rhaenyra to a brothel, the look of disappointment wasn't just about inappropriate behavior. It was about Viserys realizing that his brother would manipulate even his own daughter to get closer to power. That's when their relationship went from complicated to completely broken. But here's the twist that makes Daemon's story so compelling. He wasn't wrong about everything. Viserys' desire for peace, his inability to make hard decisions, his constant attempts to please everyone. These weren't just personality traits. They were weaknesses that would eventually tear the realm apart. Daemon saw the storm coming. He knew that Viserys' refusal to definitively secure Rhaenyra's succession, his marriage to Alicent creating rival heirs, his inability to choose between family harmony and political necessity, all of it was building toward disaster. Daemon's betrayals were partially motivated by ambition, sure, but they were also motivated by genuine frustration with a brother who had all the power and refused to use it effectively. The marriage to Lena Valerion, after Daemon's brief marriage to Rhea Royce ended, is another piece of this puzzle. Daemon aligned himself with the most powerful naval force in Westeros, essentially building his own power base independent of his brother. He wasn't plotting to overthrow Viserys at this point, but he was definitely creating insurance, building relationships, and alliances that would matter when Viserys eventually died. Because Daemon knew something Viserys refused to accept. Succession crises don't resolve themselves through wishful thinking and family dinners. They resolve through force, through dragons, through the willingness to do what's necessary when the moment comes. After Lena's death, Daemon finally married Rhaenyra, and this is where his supposed betrayals come full circle. By marrying Rhaenyra, Daemon achieved everything he'd been working toward. He secured his position close to power, he aligned himself with the rightful heir, and he positioned himself as the military leader and enforcer that Rhaenyra would need when succession was challenged. Was this a betrayal of Viserys? Technically, Viserys had already approved Rhaenyra's choices by this point, weakened and dying as he was. But spiritually, emotionally, it was the ultimate. Daemon Targaryen didn't betray his brother for power. He betrayed his brother because he believed he understood power better, because he was tired of watching weakness masquerade as wisdom, and because he loved his family enough to do the terrible things necessary to secure their future. Whether that makes him a villain or a tragic hero depends entirely on whether you value stability or strength, peace or power, compromise or conviction. And that ambiguity? That's what makes Daemon Targaryen one of the most fascinating characters in Westerosi history. Thanks for watching, and remember, some brothers build kingdoms together, others burn them down arguing about who should rule the ashes.